Hey folks, it's Abby from Abby Pellinor, and today I am finally hauling all of the new books that I have gotten in since the start of 2023. Somehow I haven't done a haul yet this year. I don't know how, really, truly not entirely sure how I've managed to get this far into the year without doing one, but it is the end of June. We have passed the first 6 months of the year, so I feel like it is time to dive in. Also, I just got a load of books from Olivia in June, so like I need to be accountable. So let's dive in, and we're going to go in month order. Nice and helpfully for me, I have all of the books that I've gotten in tracked in my reading bullet journal here. So let's grab the books that I got in January. So we have a fair stack of books here in January. So let's dive into them, just so I can put them down. So first up, 4 books together. One of my childhood best friends, probably my childhood best friend from when I was about 6 or 7 years old, ended up moving to Canada for the year, and so she was also kind of using that opportunity to downsize and get rid of some things that she didn't need, and that included some books. So there is one here that I've already read before, and that is I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. I adored this, and for some reason unhauled it. I don't remember why, but like I found it really interesting. So yeah, for some reason I unhauled that. I have it back now, which I'm very glad to have it on my shelves. And then the other 3 I have not yet read. The first is Soundless by Rochelle Mead, then 1,000 Nights by E.K. Johnson, and The Shock of the Fall by Nathan Filer. So I've not had the chance to read these ones yet. You all know how big my TBR is, but the ones that I've heard a lot about sound very interesting and that Christy recommended. To stick with the friend theme, in January I got 2 more books from a friend, but they were from Olivia, from Olivia's Catastrophe, so she will be of course linked down below. The first one is an arc that she had of Not Alone by Sarah K. Jackson. I read this and absolutely fucking loved it. This is one of my favourite books. It made me weep. It's environmental fiction. It's just really good. Okay, it's just really good. And then she also gave me The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Dahlia Harris, which I had already read via ebook, and unlike everybody else that I see talking about this, I actually enjoyed this book. So I really need to reread this at some point, same with Such a Fun Age. Everyone loves that and I didn't. I need to read them again and see if things change. But yes, I really liked it, and I loved this cover specifically with the hair pick. So very happy to have this on my shelves. And then the last 3 books were from a publisher, from Illumicrate and from Goldsboro. So from the publisher was Immune by Philip Detmer. This is the person who created the Kurzgesagt YouTube channel that does a lot of science education. This is a non-fiction on the immune system. I read it in a read-along. I believe that the stories are still saved in my Instagram if you want to go check those out. I also have a video that you can go and watch if you'd like to. I read this, loved it, absolutely fascinating, kept reading bits out of it to my other half, which is pretty much the signifier of whether or not a book is good for me. And yeah, it was fantastic. So glad I was able to have the opportunity to sit and read this and to make my way through it. It was a fantastic read. Then the Illumicrate one, I don't have an Illumicrate box. I haven't for this entire year, but I'm still getting the sequels to books that I got when I had the box. And so this is A Restless Truth by Freya Marske, and it is the sequel to A Marvelous Light. It is historical fantasy with LGBTQ+ romance. The first one was a male-male romance, this is a female-female romance, so I am excited to dive into this one too, and the Illumicrate edition with the like Perspex jacket is just like, I just love it. I just love it so much. And then the Goldsboro science fiction and fantasy book that arrived this month was The Witch and the Tsar by Olesya Selignova-Gilmore. Why did I mess up on Gilmore? I read this one. I read all the Goldsboro books as they come in. I gave it like 3.75 stars. I enjoyed it. I really loved the Baba Yaga mixed in through here, but the storytelling itself just didn't quite hit the mark for me. But very beautiful book. Very beautiful. February was much smaller when it came to books that I hauled in. I have Goldsboro, I have a Valentine's Day present, and I have a book I bought myself. So Goldsboro was Shield Maiden by Sharon Emeriches, and this is a Beowulf retelling. I really enjoyed the version of Beowulf that I read by Maria Dahlia Harris, I think? No, Maria Davana, who was this by? Here we go. I really enjoyed the retelling, well not the retelling, the translation of Beowulf that I read by Maria Davana Headley. Apparently I completely forgot that. So I really enjoyed that. So I was looking forward to diving into another female interpretation of the story. I thought this was done really well, apart from I was both simultaneously really invested in the characters and didn't care, and that's impressive in a way. As always, very, very pretty book, which does make up for the sting. This is another 3.75 unfortunately for me. Then the book that I got for Valentine's Day was A Man and His Cat by Umi Sakurai, a manga, volume 2, and I read this like straight after Valentine's Day. I adore this manga so much. This cat, I hit myself in the face, this cat is my life. I'm so excited for my birthday when I'm inevitably going to get volume 3. Excited. And then the book I bought myself, I spotted in a charity shop. I think it was the Amnesty charity shop here in York, and I couldn't let it go. I read this in 2020, when everything kind of kicked off in that summer, and I actually started making more of a concerted effort to read diversely. Disgusting that it took me that long, but I do it now, so at least there's improvement. And I read Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rennie Edo Lodge. I read this by ebook at the time, so as soon as I spotted a physical copy I just knew I needed to have it on my shelves. This is absolutely fantastic. I also adore the fact that this is based around Britain. Obviously a lot of the discussion on race and racism takes place in the United States. It is a very big issue there, but it's also still a fairly big issue here in the UK. Not quite as much, but it's nowhere near perfect. There's a lot of issues. And so for me personally, as someone who is British and living in the British Isles, I really enjoyed actually being able to read a viewpoint and research from my own area and be able to actually apply it to my own personal life rather than the kind of far off land that is America. So if you're British and you're wanting to look for something, highly, highly recommend. Also, it's just written beautifully. Like, even if you're not British, this brings up so many fantastic, amazing points that are worthwhile for anybody to read. Like I said, February was a short one. March, less so. Oh, that's the best you're gonna get. Okay, put it back down, put it back down. So we're gonna go in reverse for this one, because that's how I have them stacked. First up then is The Book of Eve by Meg Clothier. This was my Goldsboro book for the month. Again, this was another 4 stars. Really enjoyed it, but just didn't quite hit the mark. Had a few issues going on, unfortunately. Then Hell Breaks Loose by Derek Landy, a skullduggery pleasant book. Oh, loved it, 5 stars. Is anyone surprised? Then The Victim of Me Going Near the Book Section in my local supermarket. The Witches of Vado by Anya Bergman, and Unlawful Killings by Her Honour Wendy Joseph KC. This is a non-fiction all about like stories from an Old Bailey judge. It's also recommended by The Secret Barrister, who I've loved books from, that time in British court. And this one is about witches. In Sweden, I believe. Is it Swedish witches? It's Scandinavian witches. Norway, apologies to anyone in Scandinavia. But yes, either way, excited. Then I got 4 books from Olivia again this month. I am basically her on-hold depository. It's great for her, it's good for my reading, it's horrendous for my TBR. I have read 2 of these. So the 2 that I've read, I'll go with first. One of them is The Restaurant at the End of the Universe by Douglas Adams. This is the 2nd book in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, and I didn't read this edition. I read a different edition of it, but she offered it, and I enjoyed the books, and my partner loves the books, so I thought he'd enjoy being able to see the illustrations. And then the other one, I read this copy, and that is Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. This one was first published in the late 50s and essentially follows the breakdown and the break-up of a Nigerian community because of colonisers entering this area and manipulating individuals for their own monetary gain. Very difficult to read for multiple reasons. A lot of the characters in here are very unlikable from modern standards, and just as a woman, don't like a lot of the things that they do, but at the same time I'm so angry on their behalf for everything that is happening to them and the culture that is being erased. So I really enjoyed this fantastic, fantastic modern classic. The 2 that I haven't read yet, the first is The Chase by Ava Glass. I haven't read a thriller in ages, and this one just sounded fun. Russians have eyes everywhere, that sounds about right. So, you know, I thought that would be interesting. And then the other one is The Memory Eater by Rebecca Mahoney, which Olivia recently read and actually really enjoyed. She gave it at least 4 stars. I don't know exactly how many stars she gave it. And yeah, we follow this young girl who, like, the Memory Eater eats all the memories, and she has to try and find out how to defeat the Memory Eater, but she can't because her memories have been eaten. If I'm remembering the synopsis correctly. So it sounds good, and Olivia said that she really enjoyed it. She unhauled this to me because she had 2 copies, so I'm looking forward to diving in. And then we have A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. Fucking loved it. 5 stars. Much better than Priory of the Orange Tree, and I gave that 5 stars. So come on, man, what are you expecting? I had a great time. I had a great time. This is fantastic. I'm a Samantha Shannon whore, so what were you all expecting? And then, oh god, I don't know if you folks remember this, but I hunted this damn book down in March. And that is The Earth Transformed by Peter Frankopan. This is a non-fiction book, looks at the entire planet. If I read the synopsis, when we think about history, we rarely pay much attention to the most destructive floods, the worst winters, the most devastating droughts, or the ways that ecosystems have changed over time, and it's how that impacts humanity, and how that then influences politics and individuals and survival rates and everything. And I hunted this down because Waterstones had an exclusive edition with sprayed edges, and dear Christ, I required them. Look at these. Look at the... Ah! They also have gorgeous, gorgeous end papers. We went on the train to a different town. It was a 45-minute train, and we made a day out of it because I decided I required it. So yeah, that's how that went. I haven't read it yet because it's huge and I want to be able to delegate. I want to be able to delegate the right time to it. But I'm very, very excited to read this because it sounds absolutely fantastic. And then the final book was an unhaul from Hannah from Letter M, and that is Malice by John Gwynne. I've heard a lot about John Gwynne. This is a high fantasy. Apparently it's an epic tale of good versus evil. So I'm not sure why Hannah didn't like it, but we sometimes align quite closely and sometimes deviate quite far in our personal book preferences, so I am excited to give this one a shot either way. April was another fairly hefty month, so first up I bought myself Dumfries and Galloway Folktales by Tony Bonning, illustrated by Joe Jackson Bonning. I bought this in Dumfries and Galloway. I was visiting my gran. I'm half Scottish and this is where my family's from, and so when I spotted this and saw that it's folktales from my area of Scotland, required it, needed, haven't read it yet, very excited. So we shall see what this one is like when I get to read it. But yes, very excited to have something from somewhere that is mine on my shelves. I don't have much of that. Then for the broken binding, I bought A Memory Called Empire and A Desolation Called Peace by Arcady Martin. I have not read these yet. They are science fiction books that I am very excited to dive into and have very beautiful editions in this set. I knew I wanted to read them anyway. People had already told me that I would like them, so it's fine. It's fine. Leave me alone. Then my dad did an unhaul. So this is not my usual type of reading, I'm sure you'll recognise, but I've been meaning to read stuff that my dad reads for a while now, just to kind of be able to understand his reading taste a bit more so I can gift better books. But then also just because it's my dad, you know? I want to see what he reads. So first up we have The Devil's Sea by Clive Cussler and Doug Cussler. We have an autobiography by Peter Schmeichel. I am a Man United fan. We have 19th Christmas by James Patterson and Maxine Petro, which I am informed I can read without having read 1 to 18 first. And then we have The Man in the Bunker by Rory Clements, which is probably the closest to something I would actually pick up myself naturally. I think it's an alternative history. Hitler is said to have killed himself, but no one can find the body. And Stalin has told the president that he believes the Führer is not dead. That's what this one's about. And then the final book for April is one that my partner gifted me, and that is Make, Sew and Mend by Bernadette Banner, who has a YouTube channel which I've been following for years now. I love her sewing content, and this is just like the basics of learning to sew, learning to hand sew, learning to machine sew. I read through this, I really enjoyed it. I will definitely be coming back to it again in the future for research and educational purposes. May was another much smaller month. You may be able to identify these by the edges alone, but if not, the first book I got was my Goldsboro GSFF book for April, and that was Dragonfall by L.R. Lamb. I have read this one, if I hold it up properly. I've read this one, another 4-star read, annoyingly. The world building was just shoved down your throat a little bit. It wasn't nuanced, it wasn't developed very well. But it has set it up quite well for the second book in the series, so I will be purchasing that when that appears on the Goldsboro website. And then the next two I am still currently reading. I am about 50% of the way through the both of them. The first one that arrived was my pre-order of the Waterstones edition of Yellow Face by Rebecca F. Kwang, the same R.F. Kwang who wrote The Poppy War and Babel. I've read both of those, although not the whole Poppy War series, and adored them, so I knew I was going to love this. So far, halfway through, both hating and loving it for the right reasons. This is fantastic. I will say that this Waterstones special edition, whilst it's pretty, like the edge is really nice, and that's why I picked this one. The quality is atrocious. I think I have a video up, I made a TikTok, so I think I have that as a short here on YouTube. Yeah, unfortunately, the quality was a bit shit, if you want to see that. But the book itself, loving it. And then the April Goldsborough science fiction fantasy book, which is Paris Times by Thomas D. Lee. Again, about halfway through this one, and really enjoying this one. Actually, I'm more than halfway through. Really enjoying this one. This one is a lot of fun. It is, unless it fucks up massively before the end, going to be 5-star. So, we'll see. But to give context on what they're about, I mean, that one is, there's one male dragon left in the world, and he lives in a different world to the humans, gets pulled through to the human world, and then has to, like, make a bond with the humans. It's a whole thing. Yellowface is about a white author stealing an author of colour's work, specifically an Asian author, and passing it off as their own, and the consequences of that. And Perilous Times is, if you could bring back Arthurian knights as, like, knights for the realm in postmodern Britain. So I don't think that is the correct definition, but I mean like a little bit in our future. He's taken all of the current issues, so feminism, climate change, capitalism, and exaggerated them the way that they quite easily could go if we stay on the same trajectory. And then we bring back the Arthurian knights to try and fix it. And that goes about as well as you'd fucking expect, but I'm loving it so far, and there's dragons if anyone has that as a criteria. Good times. And then, excuse the mess behind me, is a slightly ridiculous stack for June. Ah! Oh Christ. Sweaty. Okay. First up we have Prior of the Orange Tree and Day of Full Night by Samantha Shannon, the Broken Binding editions. Yes, I already own them in hardback. No, I could not resist. Yes, Priory is a lot smaller in this version of the hardback than in the version I have, which confuses me. Like, why are they smaller? Why are they not the same size? I don't know. I don't know why they're not the same size. I'm not about to stand here and complain. It's fine. I have two very beautiful editions. One the standard, that I painted the edges of myself, and one these gorgeous ones. Then my other half did a bit of an unhaul. Unusual for him. And I stole these two off of his shelves, which I don't know why he owned. A Beginner's Guide, Herbs for Magic and Ritual by Teresa Murray, and Hedge Witch, A Guide to Solitary Witchcraft by Ray Beth. They just sound fun. They just sound fun, and I want to read them, okay? Then the wonderful folks at Footnote sent me over an Arc of Chlorine by Jade Song. I've not read this one yet. It is due out on the 6th of July, which is likely after this video has went up, so I should have read this by then, but it's like a horror mermaid story, so I'm excited. Then two books from Goldsborough, both of them sequels to books that I got in the GSFF box. The first one is The Battle Drum by Sara El Arifi, the sequel to The Final Strife. This one is very hard to get in and out of the slipcase, so I just leave it like this, so I can actually get the book out when I want to read it. But yes, this is a high fantasy world where people's blood type is the thing that's important, but by blood type I mean that it's either red, blue or clear, and we follow a point of view from one of each of these types. Some are treated like they are non-existent, slaves, or don't see them, invisible. Some are treated like the working class, and some are treated like the upper class. And everything goes to shit. Beautiful, love it. Very excited to read that. And then the other one is The Hawkling by Rebecca Sahabi, and the first one to this was Collarbound. Truthfully, I don't remember much about this world. The first book was really intriguing, but I think I only gave it like 3.5 stars. So I'm looking forward to diving in and seeing kind of where this world then develops to. I just wanted to give it another shot because I was still really intrigued by the first book. Then my Waypoint book box came. If you want to see that video, please do go and watch it because the full moon box is fantastic and you can get a discount, 30% discount, using my code AbbieFM23. And I got Chilling Effect by Valerie Valdez and Jade City by Fonda Lee. This one, Jade, it makes you magical, only certain people can use it, and then suddenly everyone can use it, and oh no. And this one has a psychic cat. Excited. And then all of these I got from Olivia's Unhaul. Are you noticing a theme here? So let's just dive in. So we have British by Afua Hirsch, which is a non-fiction about race in Britain. Pulling the Chariot of the Sun by Shane McRae, a memoir of a kidnapping. Stolen History, The Truth About the British Empire and How It Shaped Us by Safam Sangria. Bullet Train by Kotaro Isaka is a Japanese thriller, which I've never read from before, so that should be fun. The Last White Man by Musin Hamid is where people literally wake up and they have changed race, and I'm assuming there is one person who is left as white, and it's a discussion on that. And then the duology here of Witches Steeped in Gold and Empress Crowned in Red, both by Shannon Smart. This is the, I believe, Fairy Loot edition, and this is just the standard paperback edition. I've heard very, very mixed things about this. Obviously, Olivia wasn't a fan, so that's why I have this. So we'll see whether or not I am a fan. I just want to give it a go, you know? I just want to give it a shot. And that is my 6-month haul. Far too many fucking books. If I get my journal here, let's count them, hey, shall we? Let's have a wee look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 50. 50 on the dot. Unless I counted wrong, 50 on the dot. And here's me trying to get through my TBR. Thankfully, I've read a couple of them, and I hauled in books that I had already read, which is always helpful. But yeah, I really need to get on that and get reading. So let me know your most recently hauled book down in the comments below, and whether you have this problem like I do. I need to stop. Someone help me. If you'd like to see whether I actually managed to read these books in the next 6 months, spoiler, probably not, but I'm going to try. If you'd like to see, then please do hit the subscribe button down below. I would love to have you come join. I am so close to 1,000 subscribers. Like, I know it's annoying to plug, but like, I'm so close. So if you would like to come and help me reach that milestone, then please do hit the subscribe button. It would be very much appreciated for you to join the Pellinor family. And if you enjoyed the video, please do hit the like button, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye, folks!